Did you know that sometimes getting that big promotion might actually be a bad thing?
Oh, yeah.
It's, well, I'm talking about this glass cliff,
Yeah.
where women and minorities are often promoted into leadership roles that are well set up to fail.
hmm
We got a stack of research on this today, so let's dive right in.
It's a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
Really troubling.
Yeah.
You're probably familiar with the idea of the glass ceiling, those
Mm-hmm.
invisible barriers that prevent women from reaching top positions.
Yeah.
Well, the glass cliff kind of takes it a step further. It's like you finally shatter that ceiling only to find yourself teetering on the edge of a precipice.
So it's not just about limited opportunities.
Right.
It's like being handed a poison chalice.
Exactly. Often, these promotions come during times of crisis or instability.
Okay.
So the company might be struggling financially, facing public backlash, or dealing with some internal turmoil.
And they think a woman or minority leader is better equipped to deal with all that.
Well, there's this idea of the savior effect.
Okay. Where these groups are perceived as more empathetic,
Right.
better at managing people, and more adept at navigating, complex situations.
But isn't that setting them up to fail?
Yeah.
If the situation's already bad, their chances of actually succeeding are pretty slim, right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And if they fail to turn things around, guess what?
What?
They become the scapegoat.
Oh, so it reinforces the stereotype that they weren't qualified to begin with.
Exactly.
Okay, so where did this term glass cliff even come from? Is this just like an anecdotal thing, or is there actual research behind it?
No, it's not just anecdotal. The term was coined back in 2005
Wow.
by two professors at the University of Exeter, Michelle Ryan and Alexander Haslam.
Okay.
They were analyzing FTSE 100 companies, and they noticed a pattern. Women were more frequently appointed to boards of companies that had been performing poorly in the 5 months prior to that.
So there's actual data backing this up.
Yeah.
Wow. What about some real-world examples? I bet there's some pretty high-profile cases of the glass cliff in action. Absolutely. Think about Marissa Mayer becoming CEO of Yahoo.
Oh, yeah?
She was brought in after the company had already lost significant market share to Google.
Right.
So it was a challenging situation from the start, and despite her best efforts,
Yeah.
Yahoo continued to struggle.
That's a classic example.
Yeah.
What about other industries? Does this happen outside of just tech?
Definitely consider Patricia Russo,
Okay.
who was appointed CEO of Lucent Technologies right when the company was facing serious financial difficulties.
Oh, wow.
And you know what happened?
Right.
She ended up being replaced, which further fueled this perception that women just can't handle these really tough leadership roles.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
It feels like these women are being set up to take the fall.
Right.
Are there more recent examples?
Oh, yeah.
This feels like something that's still happening today.
Just look at Linda Yaccarino taking over Twitter after Elon Musk's turbulent takeover. I mean, the platform's value had plummeted. Users were fleeing.
Yeah.
And she was essentially handed this company in crisis.
Wow. Walking into that situation had to be incredibly daunting.
Yeah.
It almost feels like a deliberate strategy to deflect blame.
Well, that's a cynical view.
I know.
But it's not entirely unfounded.
Right.
I mean, when things go wrong, it's easy to point the finger at the person in charge, especially if they're already perceived as an outsider.
Right.
But this phenomenon isn't just limited to the corporate world.
Oh, really?
We also see it in politics.
Okay, give me some political examples. I'm curious to see how this plays out on a different stage.
Okay. Think about Theresa May inheriting the Brexit mess.
Right after the UK voted to leave the EU.
Exactly. The pound was plummeting, negotiations were stalled, and public opinion was deeply divided.
What a mess.
It was a no-win situation from the start.
She was handed an incredibly difficult task
Yeah.
with very little room to maneuver.
Right.
Are there other political examples like that?
Yeah. Yeah, you see similar patterns with female politicians in Australia.
No, right?
They're often appointed to leadership positions during times of crisis and low approval ratings.
So basically,
Yeah.
they're expected to just clean up the mess left behind by their predecessors.
Exactly. Yeah. It's almost as if they're seen as these disposable leaders.
Right.
If they succeed, it's a bonus.
Right.
But if they fail, well,
Yeah.
they were the risky choice all along.
It's incredibly unfair.
Yeah.
So we've seen the glass cliff in action in both business and politics.
Yeah.
But why does this happen in the first place? What are the root causes of this whole phenomenon?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
There are a lot of different theories, and it's likely A complex interplay of factors.
Yes.
Remember that savior effect we talked about?
You mean where women and minorities are seen as better at handling crises?
Yes, exactly. That's definitely one piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
But there's also the issue of unconscious bias. People just tend to associate leadership qualities with these traditionally masculine traits.
Okay.
So when a company is in trouble, they might subconsciously seek out someone who embodies those qualities.
And that often leads them to choose a man.
Unfortunately, yes. But there's also a flip side to that coin.
Okay.
In times of crisis, there's also this tendency to want someone who's seen as different.
Someone who can shake things up.
Exactly. They're looking for a magic bullet.
So they turn to a woman or a minority hoping they'll be that magic bullet.
Exactly. It's like a double-edged sword.
Wow.
They're seen as both the solution and the scapegoat, all rolled into one.
So they're set up to either be a hero or a martyr.
That's a powerful way to put it.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't ignore the issue of systemic discrimination.
Right.
Women and minorities often face more obstacles in their careers. They have fewer opportunities for mentorship and sponsorship.
Right.
And they're less likely to be part of those informal networks that lead to top positions.
So even when they are qualified, they're starting off at a disadvantage.
Exactly. And that can make these risky glass cliff positions seem like the only option for advancement,
Right.
even if they come with a high probability of failure.
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So what can we do about it? How do we break this pattern and create more equitable opportunities for leadership?
Well, the first step is awareness.
Okay.
The more we talk about the glass cliff, the more we expose the hidden biases and systemic factors that contribute to it,
Yeah.
the better equipped we are to challenge it.
So knowledge is power,
Right.
but it's not enough on its own.
No.
What are some concrete actions we can take?
Well, organizations need to take a really hard look at their hiring and promotion practices.
Okay.
Are they actively seeking out diverse candidates?
Mm.
Are they providing equal opportunities for training and development?
Yeah.
Are they creating a culture that values different perspectives and leadership styles?
Sounds like a systemic overhaul is needed.
It really does.
What about individuals? What can they do to protect themselves from the glass cliff?
Well, the most important thing is to be informed. Know the signs of a glass cliff situation.
Like what?
Like a company in crisis, a lack of resources, unrealistic expectations for success.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to ask tough questions during the interview process.
Yeah.
What are the biggest challenges facing the organization? What support will I receive? What are the metrics for success in this role?
So due diligence is crucial.
Absolutely.
Don't just jump at the first opportunity that comes along.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to say no if it feels like a setup. Sometimes the smartest move is to just wait for a better opportunity,
Right.
one where you have a genuine chance to succeed.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But what if you're already in a leadership role and you start to realize you might be on a glass cliff? What then?
That's a tough situation.
Yeah.
First, acknowledge the reality. Don't sugarcoat it or pretend it's not happening.
Okay.
Then assess your options.
Uh-huh.
Do you have the resources and support you need to succeed?
Right. Can you build a strong team and cultivate allies within the organization?
So take stock of the situation and strategize.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to seek out mentors and sponsors who can offer guidance and support.
Okay.
Remember, you're not alone in this. There are organizations and networks dedicated to helping women and minorities navigate the challenges of leadership.
So even in a difficult situation, you have options and resources.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned mentors and sponsors.
Yes.
How important are those relationships in combating the glass cliff?
They're absolutely crucial. Having someone in your corner who can vouch for your abilities, offer advice, and connect you with opportunities can make all the difference.
So it's about building a support system
Right.
within your organization and beyond.
Precisely. Surround yourself with people who believe in you,
Yeah.
who can offer different perspectives, and who can help you navigate the complexities of the workplace.
Okay. And what about the emotional toll?
I mean, we've talked about all the practicalities,
Yeah.
but being on a glass cliff can be incredibly stressful and isolating.
Right.
How do you deal with that side of things?
That's a crucial point. The pressure to succeed, coupled with the awareness that you're being judged more harshly,
Yeah,
can be overwhelming.
for sure.
It's so important to prioritize self-care.
Okay.
Make time for activities that bring you joy.
Uh-huh.
Connect with loved ones, and don't be afraid to seek professional help if needed.
So taking care of your mental and emotional well-being is just as important as all the strategic maneuvering.
Absolutely. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
And remember, it's okay to set boundaries.
Okay.
You don't have to say yes to every request or take on every challenge.
Yeah.
Protecting your time and energy is essential for long-term success.
So we've covered a lot of ground here,
Yeah.
from recognizing the signs of the glass cliff to developing strategies for navigating it,
Right.
to emphasizing the importance of self-care and support systems.
Yeah.
What are some key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
Well, I think it's important to remember that the glass cliff isn't just an individual problem.
Okay.
It's a systemic one. It really reflects these deeply ingrained biases and power structures that need to be challenged at every level.
So it's not just about women and minorities kind of protecting themselves.
Right.
It's about creating a culture of equity and inclusion where these situations are less likely to occur in the first place.
Exactly. Organizations need to be proactive in promoting diversity,
Uh-huh.
and not just in terms of representation, but also in terms of thought, leadership style and decision making.
Yeah. And I've read that diverse teams are actually more innovative and successful.
That's absolutely true. When you have people with different backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives all around the table,
Yeah.
you're just more likely to come up with those creative solutions and avoid groupthink.
So it's not just about doing the right thing.
Right.
It's a good business.
Precisely. Embracing diversity is a win-win for everyone. It leads to better outcomes for organizations, it creates a more equitable workplace, and it unlocks the full potential of all employees.
Okay, this has been such an eye-opening conversation.
Mm.
I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of the challenges women and minorities face in leadership roles. And hopefully our listeners feel the same way.
I hope so, too. The more we talk about these issues, the more we raise awareness, the better equipped we'll be to create a more just and equitable future for all leaders.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So to wrap things up, what's like one key piece of advice you'd give to our listeners who are striving for those leadership roles or who might find themselves facing a glass cliff situation?
I would say, know your worth. Believe in your abilities. Don't let anyone tell you that you're not qualified or that you don't belong in the leadership ranks. And never be afraid to ask for what you deserve.
That's such powerful advice. Know your worth, believe in yourself, and don't be afraid to ask for what you deserve. I love it.
And remember, you're not alone in this journey. There are countless other women and minorities who have faced these similar challenges. And there are organizations and networks out there that are dedicated to supporting your success.
Yeah, that's a great point. There's a whole community out there ready to offer guidance and support.
Exactly. Reach out, connect, and build those relationships. They can be invaluable as you navigate your career path.
This has been such a fantastic deep dive. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and expertise with us.
It's been my pleasure. I'm always happy to talk about these important issues.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery. We hope you've learned something new, gained a new perspective, and feel empowered to challenge the glass cliff wherever you encounter it.
And remember, the world needs your leadership. Don't be afraid to step up, make your voice heard, and create a better future for yourself and for all of us.
That's a wrap on today's deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep shattering those glass ceilings and cliffs.